everybody. This is Dr. Lori Shemek.
And I'm Omar Cumberbatch. You're listening to This Podcast Burns Fat. Hey, Lori, how are you today?
Hi, Omar. I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, just it was fun catching up with you earlier about your new puppy and my new puppy.
Yeah, it is an adventure to say the least, but
Yeah.
we're pretty good. We're going pretty good. I can't complain. It's just a lot of planning, a lot of
Oh,
things
yeah.
I never thought I would have to do. But you know, it is what it is. I've had a dog in the past, so it's kind of refreshing my memory of how it used to be. But yes, it's definitely a challenge. But
Yes, and a source of stress, but it's a good payoff. You know, my little puppy, she's 6 months old now. And in the beginning, I was like, oh boy. But
yeah,
now it's calming down, you know?
yeah, no, it's interesting, but yeah, I'm definitely
Yeah.
pushing along, so I'm excited about that. So, you know, by the time the weather gets warm, it'll be a fun thing, you know, just
Oh, yeah. It's
past
going to
the
be great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward
Yay.
to that. But that's not going to stop us from, you know, pumping out these shows and
No, it won't.
getting busy.
I loved our guest today. He
Yeah,
was wonderful.
exactly. He was so awesome. Dr. Eric Fate, he just breaks down a lot of the stuff that we believe in, just like how to maintain
Mm-hmm.
longevity, you know, building muscle as we age, and just, you know, supplementation and stuff that can improve our life for the long term. So yeah, I was really excited to have him on the show and listen to him drop so much wisdom on us. So I think the audience is gonna love him.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, lots of goodies today.
Absolutely. So let's jump into it.
Okay.
Hey, Dr. Eric, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good, my man. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it, both of you.
Thank you. We are so happy you're here. So you, Dr. Eric, are going to get us slim, trim, younger, and help us live longer, aren't you? Especially for us over 40.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's kind of my goal, right? As we get older, we keep turning back the clock a little bit more and more. So
Yeah, and one thing that I think is important to note is you just you can't sit back any longer, you know, maybe through your 30s, but
Correct.
once you hit 40, you know, or even like late 30s, really, you need to take action and be proactive.
You
So,
do. I'm glad you said that, because I think that's kind of how I started, and you guys probably see it as well. But as I progress through this field and I encounter more and more clients and social media contacts and just people out and about, I'm seeing younger and younger people having issues that I didn't, you know, 5-10 years ago, I didn't see till they're in their 50s and 60s. And then I think it's just, we're in a very stressful, toxic world, and it's affecting our younger generations. And it's, like I said, I'm seeing, you know, more and more men and women with hormonal issues, dysfunctions at a younger and younger age, which is kind of frightening. But so I've kind of broadened. Now I used to be like the 40 plus, but now I'm like 32 plus. You know,
actually, that's cool if your markers are showing that, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can help some more people. You know, we need it, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely love to get ahead of the curve. So, Doc, if you could give us a little bit more of just about your background, how you kind of stumble upon what you're doing today, and then we'll have a bunch of other questions for you.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So, like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys have amazing websites, and your podcast looks great. I've read through and listened to some, and you guys do an awesome job. So I'm glad to be a part of this. And I think it's just about providing that value and getting education out there. And I'd love to share what you guys do with my crowd and vice versa. I think it's just about getting the word out. So I'm a big kind of when I was younger, and I still am, I've always been kind of a superhero guy. So I'm always about the superheroes. So I guess I would say, what's my superhero origin story, I guess is what you're asking. So, so that's kind of what I've always been kind of in health and fitness, always been active. Even back in, you know, high school, I learned how to manipulate my body weight and body fat when I wrestled and how to perform better. My parents were both into health quite a bit. So I learned a lot from them and got into the world of science.
Lucky you.
Yeah, right. So I grew up in the 80s, right, in the 70s and 80s. So my dad had familial hypercholesterolemia, you know, and he was, you know, super healthy, super fit, but still struggled with like some cholesterol issues and I remember back when the original Atkins diet came out, kind of thing. This is back in the day, and I've seen this, then went the whole low fat phase. So I've seen all kinds of trends and things through the years, but I started out as an ER doc, right? So I was in the world of traditional medicine. This is back before all this stuff that we're talking about now with the functional medicine side was not really around as much. So I was an ER doc for a long time, loved it, did a lot of cool stuff, saw some amazing stuff, had some great stories, but
I bet you do.
but I saw a lot of young people, and it just kind of made me pause. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm seeing people in their 30s, they were younger, on 10 different medications and overweight and disabled, just not working because they're so ill because of poor life choices. And I'm like, dude, this could have been prevented if you would just had a healthier lifestyle. There's got to be a way to prevent you from getting to this point. So that's what kind of got me into the world of health and hormones. Did a little stint as like doing some cosmetic surgery and regenerative medicine, cosmetics and stuff. And then I got into hormones and kind of interventional endocrinology, learned about peptides, functional medicine, anti-aging, and just one thing led to another. So it's just kind of expanded that way. And so really it's about the prevention and optimizing health, when, having been there, done it with the traditional medical world. I think we all know that, when it comes to acute stuff, it's great. If you're dying, if you got a broken limb, great. But when it comes to health, wellness, weight loss, nutrition, actually, it's not so good. And then that's where, what you guys do, what I do comes into play. So I think if we can keep people tuned up and living as strong and healthy as they can, without medications or, synthetic drugs as long as possible, then all the better, and if we can extend, not just live longer, but live stronger, better. I don't want to just, I want to be, like me, I want to be skiing when I'm 100, I don't want to be just old. I want to be old and fit. And that's what my goal is for my clients. I want people to live strong. And that's why I kind of called my company Prime X. I want people to live in their prime, feel their prime vitality as long as they possibly can. So that's kind of been my mission.
So do you think that then obviously you see hormone therapy as a place for people over a certain age or at a certain time in their life?
Definitely. Yeah. So, most of my clients, I'll talk about nutrition and fitness and sleep and recovery and supplementation, et cetera. But, oftentimes the missing piece is hormonal, and some people can nip it just with that. But a lot of people, they're doing everything right lifestyle wise, but they're still having some hormonal deficiencies. Whether they got, a genetic, thyroid disorder or testosterone deficiency, or women in perimenopause, you can only delay that for so long. So when that happens, it's time to step in and address it hormonally. And that's kind of been picking up, of course, over the years, not really that, a lot of people are like, it's, the quote unquote fountain of youth, right? But, it just, slows things down, of course, but it can help maintain some health parameters and help us live a little bit better and turn back the clock, so to speak, at least biochemically and physiologically, and can help, stave off some of these things. So yeah, so it's a huge part of my armamentarium as well. And, I've used a lot of medical peptides as well. So those are kind of the two medical pieces, which are, I only use the bioidentical hormones. So I don't use any of the synthetics, so like I said earlier, I try to keep everything as natural as possible and do the free, cheap stuff first, and then save the hormones and the expensive peptides for last. But they have a place, just like everything, everybody's different. You got to find the right strategy for each person.
That's good. Customized. Yeah. I think it's really sad what they've done to scare people off with hormones.
Yes.
Because you think about, as you age, you lose, say, CoQ10 naturally.
Yep.
And we take it, we replace it, supplement with it. And the same is true of estrogen and testosterone and et cetera. So yeah, correct. I know the word is getting out there and people are responding more positively to it, but did they do a number on that or what with that poor study that came out?
They did. Oh my God.
Especially for women,
It was horrible. Yeah, especially for women. I mean, women were on it for decades and did great. And then the whole WHI debacle. And then as they found out later, of course, that it was a poorly done study, and they refuted that, and as well as done hundreds of studies since then, kind of showing how it it's not true and actually will help you live longer, stronger, better. So that's always my conversation with women is about, I'm still myth busting after all these years about it will actually reduce your risk of breast cancer. It will reduce your risk of heart disease. It will reduce your risk of osteoporosis, all those things. Alzheimer's, your skin health, everything, so it's not just about, looking better, lifting more weights. It's about health. It's about improving, the women and men too, but, that are bioidentically, hormonally optimized. I mean, they flat out live longer, 30% longer or more, so they live
protective.
Very protective. So yeah, so it's a lot of health things that that are going to help you live better and you'll perform better too. So it's both. And I think it's, slowly more and more people are becoming aware of it, which is great.
So, Dr. Eric, let's start with like the cheap and inexpensive stuff first, and just the things that.
I knew you'd go there, Omar.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because like I'm dying to get into, especially like the peptide therapy and stuff like that. But
Right.
so for the listener who is okay, maybe we'll take that as a last resort. What are the first things that you kind of work with your clients, especially when they're trying to lose weight and just get healthier?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So, for me, again, I try to start with the free stuff. And, for me, I tell everybody, look, your day starts the night before. So again, my superhero analogy, I have the double S, like the Superman shirt, sleep and stress. So, your day starts the night before, getting that good quality sleep and then starting the day fresh, not in the fog and tired and cranky because you didn't sleep good. So, and dialing in that stress, which takes a lot of work. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's just like telling people you have to work out and exercise and eat right. They're like, you kind of feel the eye roll. It's like, you got to do the work, right? But it's like, look, if I can give you some tips to make it easy and simple, let's do it. So that's kind of where I start. And because I ask a lot of questions about, their symptoms and what's going on. And inevitably, fatigue is always up there. Stress is always up there. Cravings and hunger is always up there. And a lot of it is, again, lifestyle. If you're not sleeping well, if you're stressed to the max, you're going to start the day off on a bad foot. So I try to start with that because sleep is free. A lot of meditation is free. If they're going to fast, fasting is free. Taking a cold shower is free. Stuff like that. So start with the basic stuff, and then I'll start building, and then we'll start engaging all those other. I kind of call it like the gears of the machine, right? You have like 4 or 5 different gears, and your body's the machine. To get it moving, you got to have nutrition, the movement, exercise, diet, supplementation, and then hormonal therapy. If one of those gears is missing, the gear slips, the engine's not spinning. So I kind of use that analogy, and most people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So
I love that. Yeah, that's great. It looks like you've covered a lot of bases you don't hear people talk about all the time, which I love. But can I ask you, the cold shower part, is that really effective in terms of lowering inflammation and brown fat and all of that?
Yeah, cold showers are great. I mean, obviously, a lot of people nowadays are going, big into the cold plunges and, the cryo tanks and things like that. But sometimes that's hard to do, or you don't have the bandwidth to build one or go rent one, whatever. So, I mean, shoot, everybody's got a shower, right? I mean, just hop in the shower. And yeah, actually, it can be very beneficial, even just
okay.
20 seconds or so. And it doesn't, I always tell people are always like, oh, I'm not doing that. And my wife laughs at me. She's like, I don't know how you do that. I'm like, well, just start off cool. It doesn't have to be cold. Just start a little cool, do like 5-10 seconds and work every day. Add a few, just work your way out. It's not like you're jumping in the cold water right away. You can ease into it. But yeah, a lot of studies have shown, reductions in stress hormones. You get a boost of norepinephrine. So cortisol flattening, you get a boost in dopamine, which actually lasts, a good chunk of the day compared to which you traditionally do things to get a dopamine spike to make you feel better, whether it's like chocolate or sex or something. It wears off after an hour or two. A cold shower dopamine burst will last almost half the day. So
really,
yeah. So and it can definitely help with some fat loss protocols too, but it definitely takes a little bit more time, which a lot of people don't want to be in the cold for 10-20 minutes every morning, kind of thing. But it's a tool if they're willing to do it. But I think just doing a cold shower, even minimalist, splash your face with cold water. Everybody does that, right? But I think a cold shower is a great way to kind of jumpstart your day for sure.
That's great to know.
Yeah, before I don't want to leave that subject too quickly because I did both. I've done the plunges and the cold.
Yeah.
And the plunges, I mean, they think I'm crazy, are so much better because I think this whole shower just once I get my shoulder underneath in the plunge, it's like going into a cold pool, like your body.
Right.
Oh, I hate that. Oh.
But once you're in, right? And
yeah. It's funny. It's funny you say that, Omar, because I've had a few people tell me that same thing. Like, oh, I'd rather, I do the plunge. I don't like the shower just because the way, like you said, the way you do it. So I totally get that. And I've never done like a plunge. I've done like an ice bath before, but so I get it. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, that's the same thing, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you mentioned you give them tips, and are there some tips you can give us today to allow us to live longer and stay more youthful? Just a couple.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, starting with the free stuff, of course, this time of year it's a little more difficult, but I'm big on like my big thing that I focus on is like what I call muscle medicine, really focusing on keeping your muscle mass as you get older, because it's
Yes.
not just about looks, it's the organ of longevity. And muscle is actually one of the largest endocrine organs in the body, meaning it makes hormones. It makes these little molecules called myokines, which are like little protein signaling molecules that tell your body to do different things. It has actions in the brain and the bone and your gut and your pancreas, pretty much every organ of the body. So my big thing is muscle medicine. So, and again, especially when I talk to my ladies, I'm like, look, I don't want you to get bodybuilder big, but I want you to maintain your muscle mass, maybe put on a little bit, and it's going to help you burn fat. It's going to help you live longer, stronger, better. So for me, I'm definitely focused on the strength training and the nutrition to support muscle mass and muscle health. And I think the other part of me is like, I really try to keep things as close to our core genetics and physiology as possible, especially when it comes to like circadian rhythms, right? I think a great way to start, other than the cold showers, like, if you can't get outside and move and look at, not look right at, but look at the sun, get the sun shining on your eyeballs and walk towards it. Something about syncing your circadian rhythms that will help you to kind of get that light hitting your retina, going to your brain, is going to signal all those neurochemicals to tell your body to get in the mode of waking up, get your cortisol spike in the morning and attack the day. And it's also going to prime you for getting your melatonin burst at night so you could sleep better, and then you sleep good. And so it's a beautiful cycle if you do it right. You walk towards the sun, you get this thing called optic flow, right? It kind of signals your brain like, hey, we're in the rhythm, right? We're designed that way to get up and moving at sunlight. And when it gets dark, you go to bed, kind of thing. And everybody's like, well, yeah, I know that, but nobody does that, right? So we're all staying up with our artificial lights and our iPhones, and we're tweaking the system. So if you could just, start your day sleeping good and start the day off with, movement and light and fresh air. I think I'm big on like just getting outside, getting out, touching nature, touching the grass, moving, walking in the woods if you can, or at least just walk around your neighborhood, just getting some fresh air, because that's what our bodies are meant to do. So I think just getting back to our roots is great, just because we're all trapped in these artificial environments and it's not good for us. So I try to encourage people to do that as much as possible. And then from there, it's really just, again, the basics. I think if telling everybody to walk every day and take breaks with gentle movements. Everybody's focused on, going to the gym, right? Which is great. But then I tell people, well, what do you do the rest of the day? Well, I sit in my office. Well, okay, that's, 18 hours or whatever you're sitting. So you got to be moving throughout the day, right? If you every half hour, get up, move around, walk for an hour a day, simple stuff, hit the weights 3 times a week, whole food based diet. It can taste delicious and fill you up, and, focusing on protein, fiber, healthy whole foods, getting rid of all the processed foods. Boom, there's your diet. Super simple. I just really dumb it down for people so they, it doesn't overcomplicate it. Oh yeah, I can do that. I can totally do that. Everybody's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like the light turns on, so those are some simple things. So when it comes to just living longer, stronger, better, it's just, again, optimizing your sleep and optimizing your movement and nutrition, because that's going to help your body do what it needs to do. When you sleep properly, you're making your own growth hormone, which is the longevity hormone, right? When you're staying up all night, you're throwing that out of whack. And then by starting the day with movements and doing some activity or some exercise in the morning when you're kind of fasted. And I know some people like fasted exercise, some people don't, whatever works for you. But again, that ancestral component, that whole our physiology is designed to be you're kind of catabolic, and you're stimulating your body to now be anabolic. So then when you eat, now you're going to build muscle, you're going to improve energy production in your cells, and then you're going to feel better throughout the day. So it's really about kind of flipping it on the switch. So many people are big on fasting in the morning and not doing anything. And then as the day goes on, they be more active. I'm kind of like flipping it on its head, making it more like, all right, what we were primed to do is starting the day, like attacking the tiger, killing the tiger, eating, and then going throughout your day. And then you're settling down and chilling out the rest of the night. And then you're primed for sleep. So that's kind of my big thing, is really just focus on muscle medicine, which we can get into more if you wish. And then just really kind of getting back to our roots about the rhythms, getting our bodies in sync.
And I think the sedentary part that you mentioned about sitting so much, movement is that's how we evolved. Yeah, it's huge. Yes. Yeah, just to underscore that.
Well, and people talk about weight loss, right? It's, exercise, eating, and everybody forgets about NEAT, right? That non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that big fancy word for just means constant movement throughout the day, right? So that actually burns more calories than exercise, if you add it up. So just telling people just move around, throughout the day, like, oh, well, I can do that. Especially people that hate working out, like, well, just move, move all day. So
I love it.
So, Dr. Eric, let's jump into the new category of things. As you're a doctor, you prescribe a lot of different medications. I'm really curious to see what's on the market, or at least piquing your interest as far as weight loss medication, including appetite suppressants and stuff of that nature. Can you just give us a little glimpse into that world?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, yeah, and obviously we hit the lifestyle, and then a lot of my patients, even the ones that come to me for weight loss, a lot of them are getting older and they're having some hormonal issues. So I'll always do the hormones as well. Almost always, not always, but sometimes concurrently with the weight loss therapeutic regimen, because that can help if someone's, their anabolic hormones, their DHEA, their estrogen, testosterone, thyroid is not prime. We got to get that moving. That will move the needle tremendously just doing that. But as you know, everybody wants results now, right? So what can we do to speed that up? So the people that really want to drop the weight quick, then that's when we get into the medical peptides or other weight loss therapeutics. And you can do, again, if people can't do that, or okay, we can get into some other movement strategies, some fasting strategies, some supplement strategies. And there's a lot of great, inexpensive supplements that will help with weight loss. Again, it's not going to drop 20 pounds in a month, but it'll move the needle, whether it's berberine and alpha lipoic acid or CoQ10, different AMPK activators, gut products like tributrin or butyrate, things like that can help your gut health and help you burn some fat. But if people really want to do it quickly, or they're really, what I call like a medical endocrine emergency, if they're really overweight, they're getting elevated, blood pressure, their cholesterol's off, they're with their inflammatory markers are up. I'm like, we got to treat this now. So we're going to do the hormones, we're going to do the peptides, we're going to give you the full court press, because I don't want you to get ill and die. I don't want you to have a heart attack and become diabetic in the next, week or month. So that's when we'll do the full court press. And in terms of therapeutics, for a while there, and still there's like a lot of great inexpensive products, whether it's like injections with like the amino acid products, like the MIC injections, or phentermine's been around for a long time. If you use it properly, it can work. But I've had a lot of success with the medical peptides, like the semaglutide, tirzepatide, MADA-C, tesofensine. These are just some of them. Everybody's kind of on the Ozempic bandwagon now, right? You read about it everywhere, but which is great to a point, because I see a lot of people that are using it that probably shouldn't be, or they're getting it from people that are just somehow getting it and they don't know what they're doing, and then they get into trouble. Kind of like hormones, and you go to these testosterone mills or go to the fitness guru online, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to act like one. And, here's what you do, and here's your lab work. And it's like, well, I just know because my colleagues and we see these people because they come to us and they're all kind of jacked up, and I have to fix them and do it right. So,
very telling.
Yeah. And that's concerning. It's just like anything, everything is dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, you probably shouldn't be messing with that. I'm sure the stewardess know how to fly a plane, but they're probably not going to get in the cockpit. They need more training, they need more experience. Right. So I see these because I see these people come to me and they've been, I went to this clinic, went to that, and they did this. And I'm like, oh my God, no wonder you're a mess. Let's fix this. So Omar, to your point, man, I think if you want like, boom, biggest bang for your buck. Yeah. The GLP-1 agonists, like the semaglutides, the older ones that were around for that we were using for all, like liraglutide has been around, but semaglutide is probably the newer one. And then tirzepatide is kind of the newest one. On top of that, which work fantastic. They are very, very potent medications and can be very, very effective, and can definitely turn around those metabolic emergencies that I was talking about, as long as it's done properly and you ease into it. Because there's a risk of side effects for sure, especially if you go too fast. But I've had very few patients have issues with that. And they do really, really well. And then the other thing is just to really kind of phase it in over time and then watch their progress, because some people will do better doing it for a period of time and then taking them off for a couple of weeks and resume, or just stopping it altogether, or doing some other peptides or other therapeutic strategies to maintain their muscle mass. What happens is some people, they lose so much weight too fast, and then you have to worry about them. You've probably heard stories of people like losing a lot of weight, they lose a lot of fat, but if they don't do the right lifestyle strategies, they can lose some muscle. And that's, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want that. So my thing is to really focus on that muscle. So I'll really focus on the resistance training, the protein intake, and then other peptides, like the growth hormone peptides or some of the mitochondrial peptides, to really increase muscle strength and muscle mass as much as possible while they're dropping fat. So there's some different switches you can toggle back and forth a little bit. So you can see it can get a little tricky sometimes, but those are my, I've been using those a lot for the last number of years, and they do work very, very well.
And you mentioned muscle, and I'm just thinking about a lot of people that are listening right now are like, I'm too old to gain muscle. And I was just wondering, is it possible to actually bring back the muscle you had when you were younger, if you're, say, 50 or 60?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to take a little bit more work and effort? Yes, but it can be done for sure. I've seen and had a lot of people who were of older, like you said, in their 50s, 60s and beyond, start leaning out and seeing their muscles again, right? And putting on some muscle. I mean, they're not going to put on 10 pounds of muscle, but even if they put on a pound or something, a small amount, that counts, and that's huge. So yeah, it's definitely possible.
And strength as well. Is it possible to get stronger as you get older?
Definitely.
Because that they're two different things.
Absolutely.
Right? A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Laura. I'm glad you mentioned that. You're right. Two different things, because you see a lot of people that are really strong. They don't look like they've got a lot of muscle, but they're stronger in heck, and vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to have strong functional muscle, because as we get older, not just the muscle is important for health, but the strength. A lot of people, a lot of people lose those fast twitch muscle fibers as they get older, their ability to move, to walk, to open cans. I mean, they lose their ability to do just normal activities of daily living. So maintaining that strength is, some would argue, more important than how much muscle you have, for sure.
So, Dr. Eric, I'm sure, just like everywhere else in the world, COVID changed a lot of things as far as just your ability to meet with clients. Is there something that you have, like online program that you can get to reach people so that they can actually take advantage of some of these awesome techniques that you do use?
Yeah, no, it's cool you mentioned that, Omar, because really, that's actually all I do now is all telemedicine.
Wow.
Back during COVID, I had both. I had a brick and mortar, and I was starting to get into the online. I had a lot of trainers, nutritionists sending me clients because of what we talked about earlier. They're like, look, I got the nutrition fitness side, but they need the medical expert to help them with the hormones, with inflammatory processes, or whatever, gut issues, whatever issues that may be. So they'd send them to me. And so that's what I've been fine-tuning this last few months, is fine-tuning what I call my Primex partnership program. So everybody wins. So the client's happy, everybody gets referred happy. And then I can actually compensate my referral trainees as well for sending me patients and clients. So everybody's happy. So yeah, during COVID, that picked up even more. And then in the last, couple of years, I actually moved out of my practice with my partner. Now I just do everything online. So I've got clients all over the country. I've even consulted a few people in Europe. And so, yeah, all my programs are mostly online, and I can do basically a Zoom consultation. And then my lab work, my lab panels that I kind of custom made, I can have ordered, and they can go to any local facility to get those done. And then all medications, peptides, hormones can be shipped directly to them, so they can administer in the comfort of their own home, which is really cool. So
that is very cool.
That's actually, super cool. So when I think of hormone therapy, I'm thinking of needles and such. Is that a thing, or different?
You're correct. Yeah. A lot of them are pills, but yeah, things like some guys will prefer like the injections for testosterone, but I can walk them through. That's the cool thing with modern technology. I can send them a video or literally pull them up on like a Zoom or a FaceTime and walk them through the injection, like how to do it. So most guys do, and women do really, really well with it. And most people are pretty cool. Some people are a little nervous about the needles, but once I do it and I show them how to do it and they do it the first time, like, oh gosh, that was easy. So
that would make me nervous. What about a pellet? How does that work?
Yeah, pellets are, I used to do those when I had a clinic in Columbus, and did a lot of those actually, but started to shy away from it a little bit because I had patients kind of getting tired of having it done, and they just weren't good effect. The problem, they can be very effective, but the problem is it's more of an artificial bump and ebb and flow of their hormone levels. They get a nice bump and rise, but then it slowly drops lower over time. So after month 3 or so, they're ready for another round. So personally, I like to by doing injections or creams or pills, et cetera, I can really titrate them on a day-to-day basis, which again, like we were talking about earlier, just trying to be like as physiologic as possible. Our bodies are meant to have a certain range of hormones throughout their body. They do ebb and flow a little bit throughout the day and throughout the week, but we can mimic that a little bit if they lost that, and I can titrate that. I can adjust those doses day to day, over the course of a day to mimic what they would be physiologically, which is much more natural to the human body. Therefore, you're going to have less side effects. You're going to have a better effect, better positive effects compared to the pellets. And it's not an invasive procedure like the pellets. So the pellets are cool. Yeah. They're like these little Tic Tacs. They look like little Tic Tacs, and you literally would. It's a little mini surgical procedure. We do it right in the office. It take 5-10 minutes. Super easy to do, but it is slightly invasive. You are making an incision in their skin, their hip, or their buttock area, and you're covering up and letting it heal. So it's minor, and it can be very effective, but. Like I said, it's still a procedure. There's still a risk of some scar tissue, and pellets can come out, or if they have too much or too little, then you got to do something else to get the dose right. And then, they're up and down on their symptoms, and they don't like that. It's not a good way to feel. I've heard a lot of people going through that. So I'd rather, so anyway, so basically I prefer the other modalities I was talking about just because I can adjust them almost day to day if need be and get them feeling great 24/7 without side effects. And they tend to like that.
That's really great. Yeah, I have a family member who does that, injects testosterone. And I'm like, oh, I couldn't do that.
When the time's right, I will help you.
Okay, thank you.
So, Dr. Eric, before we wrap, I have one more question. And kind of in the line of what we're talking about, being that you're doing this online. What is the insurance kind of situation? Because I know a lot of people who have done, like, say, in the functional medicine world, do have to pay out of pocket. It being that this is you're a doctor and you're making these prescriptions. Does insurance cover any of these kind of procedures?
Typically, no, and actually, I don't bill insurance at all. I'm all cash. A lot of my colleagues would do the same, just because number one, either they won't cover it, or if they do, the hassle factor and the extra costs are just too much of a pain in the butt for the client and for us.
Anything that they consider cosmetic is not paid for.
Not covered. Yeah, they won't. It typically won't cover the hormones. Sometimes they'll pay for lab work. I mean, I have my own lab panels, which are usually quicker and really oftentimes cheaper than you, unless they got an amazing plan, then all labs are free kind of thing, or super cheap. Then I'll, I can write it on a script pad or order. But otherwise, everything else, they won't pay for hormones. They definitely won't pay for peptides. So it's kind of a moot point. I mean, I just use all cash, or a lot of clients have health savings accounts, which I can use and is very effective as well.
That's good.
Yeah. Fine. And listen, so Dr. Eric, you were fantastic. I mean, I definitely learned a lot today. I know the audience is definitely learning a lot as we listen. So can you tell us a little bit more about where we can keep up with what you're doing? So your website, your social media handles, and those things. So again, we can keep up with what you're doing going forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Where are you?
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm in, as I was telling Lori, I'm in Ohio. Kind of the southeast part of the state, about an hour east of Columbus. Columbus is our capital, like smack in the middle of the state. So that's where I'm at. But as I mentioned, I have my license in multiple other states. So I can see patients from pretty much every state in the country for the most part. So,
that's amazing.
And most people find me online, Instagram, like Dr. Eric Fete. And then Facebook, I have my personal page. I post a lot of stuff there under my name, Eric Fete. And then I have a business page, Dr. Eric Primex.
And also Fete, Dr. Eric Fete is Fete.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
pronounced differently than it's spelled.
Thank you. Yes. Dr. Eric Primex is my .com is my website. It's DRERICPRIMEX.com, and then PrimexWeightLoss.com is my weight loss site. So I'd say most people find either my YouTube videos under the Primex name or just under social media. But feel free to check out my website. And if I can provide any other education or tips, comments for any of your listeners, happy to do so.
And also you have a podcast, don't you?
I do. It's called the Relentless Vitality Podcast. And,
it's great. Yeah,
trying to refocus on that a little bit and trying to beef it. And my goal this year is to beef it up, make it nice and pretty and look good and have all the extras on there, the kind of thing. I just most of my videos, my podcast, it just fly by the seat of my pants and just get the content out there.
Yeah.
I got to try to spend a little money, make it look nicer like yours.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a labor of love. Absolutely. For sure.
For sure. Yeah,
but you do a great job. And are you on social media like Twitter and Instagram and all that?
Yep. Instagram under Dr. Eric Fete. Facebook is my name or my business name. Twitter, I am on there. I think it's just under my personal name. I don't use it. I'm starting to use it more, but I haven't been using it a lot. But it's now that we can say what we want on there, now I'm going to get on there more often.
Yeah, exactly. Watch out, world.
That's right.
Oh, well, you've been wonderful, Dr. Eric. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having. You guys are awesome hosts, and you've got a great podcast and site as well. So I appreciate it.
And you too.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of This Podcast Burns Fat. We're so excited to have you as a listener, and we're hoping that you really enjoyed the content as well. And if you did, please run over to iTunes and provide a rating and or review. It will go a long way in helping us continuously build our listenership up so that we can provide you with the excellent content regarding fat loss, weight management, and just an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much. Have a great night.